Welcome to the Business Finishing School Podcast. Stop the insanity, eliminate the chaos, bring simplicity, probability, and leverage as operating values into your business and personal life so you can do more, earn more, and improve your relationships. This is Business Growth Simplified. Here's your host, Business Finishing School founder, Rick Sapio.
All right, everyone, this is Rick Sapio with my partner, Teresa. And this morning we're going to talk about a topic that drains Americans, drains the world. It's the topic of happiness versus fulfillment. And I've watched you over the years, and you've got a full life. You've got two businesses, one with your husband and son, one with you and your partners. You've got this with me. You've got a lot going on, but you always seem to be fulfilled. So what is the distinction between happiness and fulfillment in your view?
Rick, I do have a full life, but you know what? Many people have full lives today. Mine seems to be, the life of an entrepreneur just tends to be a little bit busier. You're just probably obligated in more ways than others. But, happiness is fleeting. I was walking to the office this morning and I had just a feeling of joy and happiness and just the walk and just feeling gratitude. But that can be a fleeting moment. Fulfillment is deeper, it's grounded, it's about living a full life. And it's much, much more than just chasing happiness. And I want to talk about happiness and happiness and faith. Is there such a thing as happiness and faith, right? Don't people lose their faith in different times in their life? If they were chasing happiness, does that connect with faith? Is faith about happiness?
Well, here's the interesting thing about that. I remember, obviously during the coronavirus, which changed humanity, the most faith-filled people, seemed to get through it a lot better because, you think about human nature. I know the French Revolution wasn't only about religion and God, but one of the things that I saw when I read about the history of Americans, our founding fathers wanted God to be part of our country, and God we trust. And what that means is that God is higher than us, is more powerful than us. It almost makes us more humble as human beings. If we think we're God, or media is God, or news is God, right? That means we're the be all and end all, which means we have to create our own happiness. However, if you have faith in a bigger thing, I'll say, all-knowing, powerful entity, or God, or Yahweh, or whatever you want to call it, I happen to call it God, then I feel like there's a fulfillment to you because you believe in something more than just yourself. So you got me really intrigued in this topic because I feel like humans in general, Americans specifically, chase happiness. And we want to do a quote. I want to do a quote on all of these. The happiest people don't have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything. So when in connection to what you started the podcast with, how does that resonate?
You met with a trainer not too long ago, and it was somebody you trained with who actually works with a good friend of yours on 3, 4, 5 times a week. And during the coronavirus, what did he say? You asked him how he was doing in terms of his life and money, because as trainers, right, he really wasn't supposed to be training. There was the whole social distancing and you're not supposed to work out with your clients, et cetera. And what did he say to you, Rick?
Yeah, it was interesting to, watch most of America who was terrorized during this whole thing. And he was happy. He goes, hey, while everybody's sleeping, I'm picking up clients. I set up a home gym to work people out. When people are sleeping, that's when we are awake. And he had this beaming look for the whole time. I mean, the guy was incredibly happy. He said something really interesting. So he said, yeah, I was talking about first world problems, money and business and everything else. And he said, I'm the happiest I could ever be with my wife and my kids because I've never had money. So, that was one of the things he said, among many others.
And nothing
So,
changed for him. He didn't have money before the pandemic. He didn't have money during, and he just wasn't worried about the things that, so many people are worried about, right? Losing their real estate, losing their businesses, losing their, health is a huge issue, and losing your family would be a huge issue. But, he felt really, nothing had changed for him. That was beautiful. And boy, is that grounding, right?
yep. So let's uncork this a little bit. So he has a very fulfilled life. He's happy with his spouse. He's happy with his kids. He's happy with his career choice to be a trainer. But fulfillment is probably a better word. We want to make the distinction. To me, I have a very fulfilling life, and I know you do too. But when you're fulfilled, that doesn't mean you're always happy.
Mm-mm.
And so happiness is like a bunny rabbit that we all chase. And happiness is going to go up and down, depending on the external thing that's affecting us in that moment. But fulfillment is a decision that is lifelong in nature, that has legacy impact. Those that have a fulfilling life, those people, even though during that fulfilling life, there's going to be ups and downs in your marriage, there's going to be ups and downs in your business, there's going to be ups and downs in the economy. It's a choice, it's a lifestyle, and it's a mindset. So,
So
yeah.
you mentioned family. Let's talk about chasing happiness in relationships. I've been married 30 years, ups and downs for sure. And I look at, my nephew who's in his 30s, and I look at um, the younger generations and how they look at relationships and looking at partners. Have you ever thought, Rick, have you ever had a conversation with someone who's younger and they're talking about how they're going to choose a mate and their requirements for a mate and what they're looking for in terms of making them happy? They're looking for somebody to make them happy, and they're looking for somebody who, is very good looking, great body, super intelligent, typically entrepreneur, makes a lot of money, great in bed, um, you know, politically aligned, religiously aligned. Like, I can go on and on. And I listen to this and I think, oh my gosh, that person does not exist. You are not that person, right? Nobody is perfect. Everybody comes with a crap sandwich. And it's all about finding that perfect person that's going to make them happy, right? And boy, the way God designed us when we're in relationship, especially in the beginning, we're wired to only look at the good, because otherwise people wouldn't get together and procreate, and that would be the end of humanity. But after the hormones settle down and post honeymoon period, whether you're married or not, that's when you look to see the person that you're with is not perfect, right? It's like the rose-colored glasses come off. And if you're looking for happiness, it just is not there. It's not there. You can find fulfillment in the relationship. You can build a beautiful life together, but it's not going to be about happiness. And if that's your focus, boy, you'll chase anything and everything that comes your way looking for happiness, especially other people.
Yep. So what you're pointing to, Teresa, is where is your locus of control? I remember way back, this has to be 30 years ago, when I first read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and he talks about locus of control. And the vast majority of Americans, I think this is probably the biggest problem that shifted in our society over the last 50-ish years. We went from being, rugged, entrepreneurial, responsible. We looked up to our heroes that we imagined were doing the right thing all the time. We went from that, center of gravity as a culture to this victimhood culture. And what happened is our locus of control went from an internal locus of control, meaning I control how I feel. I control the values that I'm going to express. I control my work ethic and all of that, to an external locus of control. Locus of control is, what is the media telling me? What is pop culture telling me to do? What is my social media likes and dislikes telling me what to do? And so that shift from an internal to an external locus of control shifted our sensibilities as a nation, in my belief. Overall, I'm speaking in generalities, from a fulfilled culture or fulfilled citizenship to a happiness chasing citizenship. And that chase comes from what? Drugs, alcohol, sex. Did my husband or wife tell me something nice today? We're waiting for external things to happen that we get to judge. Judging's a whole nother topic. And it's horrible, I think. What happens then is, if you're waiting for an external locus of control, you then start thinking, well, what drug do I need as an external locus of control? And I tell the story often about my niece, who, I couldn't believe it, that we were on a plane to Europe once, a long time ago, and she had 11 drugs in her purse. She was in college. I go, why do you have 11 drugs in your purse? It's just like, well, this one puts me to bed at night. This one I take if I have anxiety. This one I take if I'm depressed. This one I take if I need more energy. This one I take to lose weight, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, all my friends have it. It's just easy. We just go to the clinic in our college. This is all an expression of what you're talking about, which is this new reality, which is destroying people, which is why we take billions of pills a year, which is sick. You can confirm that. Is we're looking for something else to provide happiness, when, you know what, nothing else is going to provide happiness. What you should be focused on is, how can I be fulfilled with myself and fulfilled with my mate and fulfilled with my career?
Rick, why don't you discuss or chat a little bit about fulfillment in purpose and career? So there are people that choose or chase money, right? And they're chasing shiny objects. And you've got great conversation around that, chasing the shiny objects instead of finding your purpose and living within your purpose, which for me, that's about fulfillment. The chasing shiny objects is like chasing happiness, but living on purpose is a fulfilling life. And you've got a lot to say about this.
Yeah, so I think all of us, when we come out of the chute, when we're born, we have a couple of things that are in our DNA, if you want to think about it from this perspective. And that is, what is our overriding value? For me, it's simplicity. It's why on these podcasts we talk about simplicity, probability, and leverage, which we've done a whole podcast on. And then I have other values, but everyone has an overriding value, and everyone has a purpose. And it's up to us as human beings to take the time to figure out what those two things are. And if the human being doesn't do that, which most people don't and won't, because they're getting pounded with Netflix and all this external stuff, if you're unwilling to take the time to find out your overriding purpose and your overriding value, those two things together, once you have that, from that point forward, you get to choose every moment. Am I doing something in alignment with my values and in alignment with my purpose? And if you are, the expression of your life will be so much more fulfilled. People will be attracted to you in your business. And so, yeah, I go back to the quotes that, we prepared. The happiest people don't have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything. And I would add to that if they're on purpose, i.e. their life is aligned with their purpose, and if they're honoring their values that they were born with, in my opinion, then they have no other choice than to make the best of everything, because they're living an aligned life. I have another one. Happiness is like a butterfly. The more you chase it, the more it will elude you. But if you pay attention to your values and your purpose, it will come and sit softly on your shoulder. That's interesting. So that butterfly or that bunny rabbit, whatever you want to call it, it's going to elude you until you live a life that's aligned with your values and your purpose. That's what this podcast is all about. That's what our relationship is all about. We want you to be fulfilled. And I think about my sister when her daughter was getting married, and she said, "Oh, I'm so excited for my daughter and her new husband to get married. They love each other." And I said, "They're way too young to know what love is. And by the way, love goes up and down in a relationship.
Yes, it does, for sure.
It's just like this. That's the last thing you should look for. Are they aligned? Are they committed? Do they know what a long-term relationship is? Are they responsible? Are they hardworking? Do they know what they're getting into? Do they have completely different views on everything? Do they enjoy each other's company? Are they friends? So things like that are far more important than they love each other. Love vanishes like this.
And love can be misinterpreted as attraction, infatuation, right? And that's where those pesky hormones come in, right? People are driven by hormones and not necessarily all the other things that you mentioned. And, I kind of teared up when you read that quote, happiness is like a butterfly. And this is a shout out to my mom, because growing up, we grew up with a ton of quotes, and our refrigerator was our bulletin board, and she would all the time put up all these quotes. And this reminded me that she probably had this quote up on the refrigerator, because this was a quote that I grew up with. And it's a beautiful quote. Happiness is like a butterfly. You know what? Haven't you had those experiences in life where a butterfly comes to you and either sits on your shoulder or on your hand? That's happened to me multiple times. And isn't that true? But if you try to chase a butterfly, what happens, right?
Yeah.
It runs, it flies away, right? So let's talk about the future, right? And with that quote, if you're chasing happiness, what kind of future are you going to have?
Yeah, one that's based on short-term highs. I remember I have a mentor, Reinhold. He was born in 1927. He's very old. He's in his 90s.
Oh, wow.
And he's been my mentor for a really long time. And, I remember on his 60th wedding anniversary, he said to me, "I absolutely love my bride, my sweet bride, and they are the best couple in the world." And I said, "Have you been happy the last 60 years? He goes, "Are you kidding me? She drives me nuts." He goes, but
That's so cute.
we are the most fulfilled married couple that you could possibly imagine because of the legacy we've left behind.
Wow.
And so marriage, it's one of those things that if you look at marriage from the perspective of, am I happy today? Then every time you have a fight, you're going to be running for the exits. But if you look at the way Reinhold does, Reinhold had a vision, and he completely convinced me of this. And I know you know this too. When my wife and I got married, we created a little paragraph. Here's our marriage in 50 years. The year is 2056. We're sitting in our living room, in our log cabin. Our great-grandchildren are running around. We're sipping hot chocolate, and there's a fire going, and there's snow outside, and you have this image of where you're going to be in 50 years. And you could do this in your company too. And what happens is when you have a fight, you're not running for the exit because you have a crystal clear image of where you're going to be when you have fulfillment in the future. It's such a massive distinction. And I'll tell you what's destroying this. All these immediate bits of information like rats, got to get likes, got to get likes, got to get likes. People have to be popular, have to have the right picture.
Rick, a secret to life is to understand the difference between happiness and fulfillment. And just having that acknowledgement, right, that we're not always going to be happy, but we can live a fulfilled life every single day, every moment of every day. You can feel fulfilled. That really is very encouraging, because life can be tough. What's that saying about problems? Don't ask God not to give you problems. Ask God to give you bigger problems to solve, right? We're always going to have problems. And solving the bigger problems will lead to a more fulfilled life than just chasing happiness.
Yeah, so I've been taught that the people who are better at solving problems are the people that have more fulfilled life, because you're just getting better and better at solving problems. But what happens is the people that avoid problems, right? Those are the people that are chasing happiness because they're kind of avoiding, they never want to confront, and they're looking for happiness in the next high or the next Netflix series or the next, toxic relationship. So thank you so much for bringing this topic up and showing me the way. You are, a model of this. And I think one of the reasons why you're a model of this is if you think about the hand that we talked about, you clearly live in your 5 priorities and you don't venture outside of those. And that's why you're so fulfilled. But most people's lives are filled with crap.
Well, Rick, you're always very kind and generous, and it's something I work towards. It's work in progress, but I've seen you very upfront, close and personal with your family, with your work. You absolutely strive towards this. You do a fantastic job, and you do such a wonderful job at articulating it and teaching it to people. And that is just, you're living on purpose by doing that. We're both living on purpose because we love sharing this information with people, and we're not coming from a place of perfection at all. It's just acknowledgement and awareness that this is the goal, right? This is what we want to strive towards and work towards every single day. So Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome. So as with all of our episodes, our goal is to bring you into our lives so that you can have a more fully expressed life and more fulfillment. So we want you to have a better relationship with your creator, a better family life. We want your finances to be rock solid, and we want you to have a fulfilling future so that you leave that legacy behind. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business Finishing School podcast, where we teach you business growth simplified. For more information on Business Finishing School or their Business Growth Summit event, visit businessfinishingschool.com.